Howdy, welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about this super cool Nick Greenland etched Inspira Designs ID7. So obviously this has a bunch of extra features beyond just the etch itself. So Nick did this cool steampunk aesthetic, adding some pipe work and like this copper shroud, this brass badge. I'm not sure where this comes from, but really cool. A little kind of valve wheel here for the blade retention screw. But yeah, just really cool. And then obviously a very detailed gear and piping etch with powder coating. Got this really cool, let's see if we can get this oriented correctly, a little meter here in resin and whatnot. But yeah, just super cool. So he added these like brass rings around the grip area on both sides, powder coated, I believe, don't quote me, I'm not sure what Nick Greenland's capabilities are, but these seem to be powder coated. And then yeah, just a super cool etch. Now, I was able to take this etch concept and apply it to the chassis design. So full disclosure, this is not my chassis. Huge shout out goes to Bryan Lynn at Civilized Weaponry Services. It's his design, as he's doing a bunch of these ID7s for David at the Saber Museum, which obviously is this customer. So David wanted this fully removable, and so Bryan sent me his design, and then I kind of tweaked it a little bit with my kind of concept to match this, as well as make sure it works for my components. So let's do that now. Right now we're just kind of showing off the hilt because I wanted to demonstrate the chassis fully disassembled. There's a whole takedown process, which I will demonstrate, but it would be easier to start out. So let's do that now. Let's hop down to the table. Let's talk about Bryan's chassis design, what modifications I did to it, and then how to operate it and reassemble it into the Saber, and then we'll go from there. So here it is, the ID7 chassis design that Bryan sent. So he sent me the Fusion file, and what I did was, first off, was kind of rebuild it with my kind of sensibilities in mind, and as well as my components. For instance, my speaker was a little bit wider than the ones he uses. I do a little bit different thing with the stripping. And then so what I did was also kind of modify the brass cover plates that he had kind of done. I like to do these little corners and then also make it so you can just grab it from the middle. And then I just did a little bit of like geometry work to kind of match the neck of the hilt there. And then I put his Civilized Weaponry Services in an English Orabesh style, and then my initials here on the neck. But yeah, we got a fully removable Saber thanks to Bryan's design. So the only things I did was just kind of, like I said, modify this. And then I had Bryan engrave these for me. So he's got the laser engraver. I did the illustrator work to kind of take this steampunk aesthetic, and you can sort of see some similar gears. Just line work there, matching. And then what I asked Bryan to do is I gave it to him multiple layers, and so what he was able to do on some of the layers was to get like this copper finish. So in order to preserve those colors, because this will tarnish over time, I did do a light clear coat over it. But yeah, so let's turn it on. So the kill switch is on the battery side. These are magnetic, so you definitely want to pull them straight up. I modified it to use my magnets, since Bryan did it with his magnets, which were a little oversized, and then we just kind of epoxied them onto the lid. They're pretty fragile, so that's why I suggest being very careful taking it on and putting it off, making sure you're trying to come almost completely vertical. But we'll hit the kill switch.
I'm keeping this internal for the moment. I have the authority to take independent action if there's no larger threat.
So it started off on Vernestra. I don't remember what I was doing. One of the things I did to modify it was put in a stock medium-sized ring, and then I had Bryan cut out the holes of the gear there to kind of let that shine through work. He obviously has done some other stuff where there's a strip on the Profi as well. But so huge shout out to Bryan Lynn. It was a ease working with him on this. But we've got a cracked quartz crystal, or I should say a cracked marble Up in the top, we've got our emitter ring doing its own thing. This is now the Goth 3D GPix emitter PCB with 28, there we go. You can sort of see it when it's off. 28 neopixels in a cruciform pattern that I've subbladed into 3 rings. We've got a matching crystal down here also. So there's a little bit of wire pass through there. This is sporting a 28 millimeter KR bass speaker. So if we take the Profi cover off, you can see through there. What I did to his design was kind of try to hide the wire paths there on the side. So now whenever you want to take the battery out, you can do what I always do is, one, you're going to take the cover plates off. Again, be very gentle because those magnets are just epoxied on. So normally what I do is I just kind of smack it a bit, but the nice thing is you can just push your finger through there now. It's very easy. So spring side, your negative. I do have a terminal indicator here. I don't remember if Bryan had that or not, but you can see I've hidden the wires as much as I can. Obviously we've got some onboard wires that you can see for that Profi strip. But yeah, so we'll just put that battery back in. This does have the KR battery wrap. So we'll hit the kill switch back on.
The High Council would be obliged to inform the Senate. A scandal like this would inspire fear and mistrust.
So I put the ID7 logo within this design, but yeah, just really cool, detailed 3-layer engrave pattern, thanks to Bryan's laser capabilities. And then, yeah. So when we want to put this in the Saber, the best thing I suggest is to hit the kill switch first, because you don't want this accidentally coming on. And then the emitter part unscrews. So, and then before I get too involved, one thing I did want to mention to the client, because Nick modified this screw. Generally, this was like a, I don't remember if it was 440 or what, but this was a threaded rod. So you would have been able to unthread it here. But now that there's all these greeblies on here and this pipe there, there's no way to undo this entirely. The ideal thing to do would be to take it off, put the chassis in and cinch it down. There used to be a set screw somewhere around here. That doesn't exist anymore. So what we want to do is we want to just undo this set screw for this box part. Part of the reason we want this fully off, I'll show you on the other side, is because we've got some additional applique brass plates here on the front side. So if you can see, those stick up above the finish. And if you were to just kind of try to start rotating this hilt to get open, you'll knock those off or scratch them. So what you want to do is make sure that that's kind of out of the way. Again, we can't unscrew it because there's no way to get here. So we just want to make sure that we're lifted off so that when we rotate by, we're not doing anything. So it comes off, no problem, if we just kind of keep our finger under there. And then we want to do this in 2 stages. There is a retention screw here for the emitter PCB, but we want to make sure that both the blade retention and that set screw are clear. And we'll just push this down in and hold it in with our finger. And then we're going to screw in this FDM printed object. And you'll notice these are now the actuators, these heat set inserts in brass. So these switches will go by them, but every now and then you might feel them click because the actuators are sticking inside. So kind of, if you want to just push them out with your finger and then hold this horizontal so that those don't stay out of the way, you can rotate this. And what you're going to do is you're going to rotate it until you can tell that you're going to get to the last turn. And then you'll notice that we need to be aligned with this strip there. So I'm going to back off a little bit, and I'm going to rotate with my finger the emitter PCB so that I can get that to be that last little bit of turn. This is a little bit tricky, but it's just part of the way this is designed. Again, we need these actuators out of the way. And then we're going to, let's see, I'm almost 90 degrees out of sync. So I need to kind of do that one more time. And there we go. So I think I'm there. So, and I've got full closure. So now we can put the grip on. And again, what we want to do is we want to just kind of make sure our finger lifts this up so that when we go and put this back, oh, and then we need to turn the kill switch back on. So that.
I'm afraid I cannot afford to lose you to a field mission, Saul. You're far too valuable here.
So this will go on a little bit tight now. And then we'll just get this all the way up there and screw it on. So again, we just want to make sure that that's completely out of the way. And so you'll notice with the pattern here, you'll be fully in line when that, what do we call this, geometric pattern lines up. So now we'll put our set screw back in. And these are two different set screw sizes, by the way. So I've got a separate Allen key here for the emitter piece. Sorry, I was just testing that there. By the way, you'll want to pay attention because depending on which way you've got the alignment, the power could be on this side or this side. So just make a note of which cover plate you're looking at. If it's got the Inspira design here, I believe the power is on this side. But if it's got the battery on, I'm sorry, the Profi on this side, then I think the power's on this side. Either way, you can just hit both buttons to test which one works. Okay, so we don't need to cinch down too hard. We just put that in to make sure that this doesn't want to pop out. Everything's kind of cinched together now, and we can sort of see we've got some shine through there with that marble. And I believe I just hit this side, so that's power now. So let's hop out, put a blade in it. So this takes a 1-inch diameter NeoPixel blade. I'm just going to use a quick little demo blade here, just so that we can talk about it, because most of the programming is going to be very similar to the other ones I've done for David. But we're on Vernestra. This hosts a bunch of the Survivor, Acolyte, and other kind of in-universe canon style presets, so the fonts and blade styles. But yeah, when we're ready,
Padawan Torben
can switch again.
Master Vernestra.
Point the hilt down to kind of go back, but we started on Vernestra, so why not? So when we hit the battery, we're when we hit power, we're in regular mode, but if we do have twist on and twist off and thrust on, which is kind of a sideways motion, right? Those gestures will put us into battle mode. So if we do a hard tap, we're going to engage the lockup, which is going to be up here until we pull out. But you can do light taps to get clashes. So, right. Again, we're not seeing that, but I've demonstrated this umpteenth times. So, but yeah.
Padawan Torben.
So that is the Saber. I will come back down and show off a little bit more of the chassis designs. But yeah, that is the takedown process. So I wanted to just make sure that this customer knew exactly what that takedown process is, because it's a little bit different with this Nick Greenland modifications. Let's pause here and then we'll come back down to the table and I'll show off some more just chassis features. Okie doke, so just wanted to show off a couple more features here. So up top, like I said, we've got the G-Pix from Goth. We've got two red button tactiles. When the Profi side is facing you, power's on the right, okay? Aux is on the left. And then we've got a row of, I believe, 8 or so 2020 strips underneath those holes. We've got the stock medium size with, I believe, what was that, 16 pixels? These are the stock small rings. So these can do interesting little, in fact, I think this one's showing if I turn it off. These are the stock small rings. So you can sort of see that there's like a running pattern around there, and it's illuminating all the cracks and stuff in that crystal. Same thing goes up here. And then on each side of the chassis, there's a row of 2020 strips of 25 pixels subbladed into 3. So we've got a center one in the hole there doing its thing, and then 2, and I think almost every preset these are going to be mirrored, but each of these strips could be independently programmed should somebody want to. And now we can see what happens when it lights up. The crystals go to more blinking pattern. And now we get a slow run.
Shinhati. Ezra?
So again, full credit goes to Bryan Lynn. Like I said, the only thing I did was kind of clean up for my components, add this stock ring, hide the wire paths, and then make these cutouts for a non-rectangular, shroud shape. So it's got these little chamfers on each corner, and then it's got a little lip here so you can just grab it with your hands. So then we can just hit the kill switch. And yeah, the one thing I didn't mention is the way that this makes connection is with the, I believe this is also stock, the thin neck adapter. So it's got the little thing there. And so, yeah. So you can operate the saber if you want to leave this in like this, just pull this out, do whatever, or you can put it together. But yeah, so that is the saber and the chassis. Again, big thanks to Bryan. That's the ID7 from Nick Greenland. Thanks again to all parties involved, and may the force be with you.